Please be seated.
Your Honour, Commissioners, this is the Royal Commission's 54th case study. This public hearing will... And then finally, dealing with the question of the involvement of women in decision-making in the organisation. You're aware of the findings in relation to that. I won't repeat them. Your response is given tab 1, paragraph 7.5 and 7.6. So 7.5 is the broad statement. 7.6, you say women can and do participate in the process of presenting allegations of child sexual abuse to the elders. So I take it you mean that as a matter of ongoing practice that happens. Is that what you're saying, Mr. O'Brien?
This is to do again with the entire process of receiving an accusation, to the completing of giving support to a victim. So the role of women in the process, the only restriction that Jehovah's Witnesses have on that is in the actual judicial committee, which is dealing with the perpetrator, not dealing with the victim.
Yes.
So women can be involved in the entire process. The victim never has to confront the perpetrator, doesn't have to sit in on the judicial committee.
That's the point, isn't it? Your answer in relation to decision-making is that you are scripturally bound, that the decisions can only be made by men.
Yes, once again, that's a scriptural requirement that we adhere to.
And at the end of that paragraph, 7.6, you say, see paragraph 13 of the August 1 letter. I take it that's in support of the statement that complainant may be accompanied by a confidant, etc. That reference seems to be wrong because paragraph 13 at tab 7 doesn't say anything about that.
I might just get Mr. Spinks to comment on that. Is the expertise in the letter?
So, again, for the very reason you raised, Mr. Stewart, we've acknowledged that, and so in the current Australian safeguarding policy, and we've made the very recommendation that you've just raised. If I can, the March 2017 Child Safeguarding Policy,
Tab 11.
Paragraph number 10.
Yeah.
Says, again, the victim's never required to confront his or her alleged abuser. The allegation can be made in the form of a written statement. And then 2 sentences on, adults who were victims of child abuse may be accompanied by a confidant of either gender to provide them with moral support when meeting with the elders. So, again, it's a valid point.
I just want to come back to something I dealt with early on in case I didn't understand it clearly. This document you're looking at now, it's been approved by the branch committee but not yet finalised in case you want to make amendments following this hearing. Is that right?
We were ready to distribute it and made the observation that if something is said at the public hearing that needs to be clarified, then that's what we want to do. But our understanding at this stage is it's completed and subject to any other observations that we can include in it, but that's correct.
Right, so you anticipate then finalising it shortly, would that be right, in the next week or two?
That's correct.
Yes. And then to whom is it going to be published exactly?
To congregation members.
To all congregation members.
So that's the audience for this document, is all congregation members.
How will that be done?
Well, that's the decision the branch committee has got to make, whether we're going to do that in a printed form or whether it's going to be distributed through electronically through the electronic mailing system for each congregation and made available locally. That's either way, it's available to all congregation members.
But you give the undertaking now that rephrase it, the undertaking now that the intention is that it be distributed to all congregation members.
Yes,
That's the audience for this document, and sorry, Mr.
yeah, I can speak on behalf of the branch committee on that, who are authorised to make that available, that it will be available to every member of every congregation in Australia.
Well, making it available may be something different to what I'm speaking about, because making it available could be if someone asks for it, they can have it. I'm just seeking to determine whether it's actually going to be actively distributed so that people have access to it without having to ask for it.
So if I could, I'm not a part of the branch committee, but the recommendation that we've made, and I believe will be acceptable, that every congregation member will have it made available to them, whether that's through a paper distribution or an announcement or made available at the Kingdom Hall. That's the only decision that's got to be made. But every congregation member will be made aware of it and a copy made available to them in each of the 800 congregations around the country.
You'll understand and accept that to the extent that people's rights within the organisation are articulated in this document, they need to know what those are. And
Absolutely.
yes, I have nothing further, Your Honour.
Mr. Tockley, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honour, there's no regular application.
Before we close, I have one question. I want to refer you back to paragraph 1716 of tab 1. It's paragraph 716 of tab 1.
716.
What's on the screen is not that.
Joint statement.
Later until 32.
I would summarise that as, in its totality, as indicating what we would describe as a pastoral response. Do you think that's an accurate description?
I don't understand the question. I apologise.
Well,
A religious response.
yes, pastoral means looking after the flock.
Yes.
I mean, this is about empathy and compassion and so on. And that's all very well as it goes, but you would now understand from the Royal Commission's work that the often very grievous effects of child sexual abuse are life-changing and life-affecting, and therefore people need, and I stress independent, expert-independent therapeutic intervention, sometimes called counselling, but it can be better described as I put it. I want to know, in terms of your response to the 1,006 files of victims and subsequent victims that have come to your attention, whether the Jehovah's Witnesses branch in Australia have assisted or decided to assist or planned to assist victims or survivors with respect to therapeutic intervention by independent experts.
Yes, so on that, Commissioner, we, of course, allow the individual to decide who they would like to use, but certainly we will assist in funding any of the victims who fall into that category automatically under the terms of reference of the redress scheme. We would see part of the redress would be covering medical and ongoing psychological or psychiatric help or some other form of...
And you do that presently?
No, because we haven't had any actual claims or correspondence until this last mainly 6 to 8 months. And it's only just at the point now that the legal firm we're using, Gilchrist Connell, have now written to the solicitors of the victims and have now presented us with some suggestions for consultation.
Well, this is not really about the law. It's about going further than compassion and actually providing people help for grievous psychological harm. Surely you're not going to wait until 2018 when a redress scheme finally comes up to reach out to victims and survivors.
No, not at all, Commissioner, because we have already now been in contact with these, so the ones who've made claims, we're not actively going out looking for other victims because we don't know what the situation is with them, but those who've corresponded to us, who've sought some form of redress or compensation, we're at the point now where we can address it long before 2018.
Well, perhaps I could ask through you, Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart, perhaps I could ask through you if you could give us some formal advice as to whether you are assisting anyone at present with financial help for independent therapeutic advice as a branch.
We'll follow that up, Commissioner.
Nothing further. Nothing arising from that, Mr. Dockley.
No, there's nothing that needs to be done.
Very well. Thank you. That brings this particular hearing to an end. And thank you both for your contribution. And you are now excused, and we'll adjourn until 2 o'clock.